So welcome back to We Are the Seeds and Sowing Seeds with Mia W. Today I will be interviewing Henu, Josephine, Tarrant. So Henu, if you want to introduce yourself.
So hello everyone, my name is Henu Josephine Tarrant. I'm Hopi, Ho-Chunk, Kuna, and Rappahannock. I'm originally from New York City and Jersey City, New Jersey. I'm an actress, I'm a singer, songwriter, traditional dancer, traditional singer, and currently kind of working on writing more straight stuff and just all around artist pretty much I would say is what I do. And I'm an ensemble member of Safe Harbors NYC, which is a nonprofit focused on producing Indigenous made created theater in New York City to kind of get us a step into the door in these institutions in New York City whose basically all of our money from our city is made through theater. So that's what I do. And I'm the intern managing director as well. Sorry, recently my father was the managing director of Safe Harbors, and fortunately he recently passed away to COVID-19. And so I'm stepping in as the interim managing director for Safe Harbors as well. And we do a festival in January called Reflections of Native Voices, which is all Native theater. Sorry.
No, that's awesome. Thank you so much for coming in today. So let's
Yeah.
get started with the first question, which is what inspired you to pursue acting and theater?
I think what inspired me to pursue a career in theater, I think really, it's always kind of like been there for me. I always say that a lot of like the beginnings of where I found the passion for performing was through powwows. I am a fancy shawl dancer, and I did hoop dancing, and I always sang with my dad's drum, Silver Cloud Singers, and we always traveled up and down the East Coast, and then we travel out west a little bit, and my great uncle is part of is the creator and founder of the Thunderbird Singers and Dancers, and they have a very long legacy in New York City as performers, mostly doing traditional dance and traditional singing. So I kind of grew up doing that. But also on the other side, on my mother's side, my grandmother is the founder of Spider Woman Theater, which is an Indigenous-led feminist theater group, also based in New York City. So I was really always around it, but I think I'm also a little bit, I was talking today about like stories about when I was younger and things that I used to do. I just think that I always, in a way, I wanted a lot of attention, and I've always kind of wanted that. It sounds so strange to say because I don't see myself as that, but that's really like, I was always doing something, I was always singing, always dancing, and like that's just like what I like to do. And let's like sometimes I look at who I am now as an adult, and I kind of always thought, I'd turn into somebody who was more about mathematics and analytics. And even though I'm, an intern managing director, like I struggle because really, like, I feel like a lot of my expertise are just in like singing, dancing, and acting. And if it's not in that realm, sometimes I'm like, what are we talking about? Like, what's going on? I think that I've always just been a very creative individual. And then theater kind of came along in an interesting kind of way because I really had an interest in musical theater because I really like to sing. And, I went to Jersey City Public School, and in Jersey City, they were pushing a magnet kind of thing to try to help you get to a better college, a better high school. So that's what I did. I went there through visual arts at first. And then I was like, no, I want to do theater because I want to do musical theater. And I went to the acting program, and I was in a 4-year magnet program at Jersey City Arts High School. Yeah, that's kind of how it chose me. It's like hard. It's hard to like specify exactly, but it's just, it happens. It's crazy sometimes for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. So my next question is, what impact do you hope to see from your writing on the film and theater industry?
I think my impact that I would hope to leave is that Native and Indigenous people are people just like everyone else. That's a big thing that bothered me. And going through theater school, that was something that would always come up for me was that I wasn't seeing natives or indigenous people viewed as people. I think just realizing that that type of content wasn't out there, that like I really had to bring stuff in. Like no one knew who Drew Hayden Taylor was. No one knew who these playwrights were. And I had to bring them in. So I think what I always think about as far as my impact in the industry is that I want people to see us as real. You know, I want us people to see the ugly. And that's something that I think is kind of perpetuated onto us, is that we have to be these beautiful creatures. You know, we're these beautiful, spiritual, stoic people who are tall and skinny with long hair and muscles and brown. And that's just how we look. And that's so unrealistic. Like that is not how it is. I grew up on the, you know, this is not how it is. I know people who have curly hair. I know people who have straight hair. I know people who have short hair, who have short haircuts, people who are darker brown, people who are light brown. Like, people who are short and stocky, people who are tall and skinny, you know, there's all these different things, and that encompasses all of who we are. And when people try to make us one way, it's almost like we're forced to play into the stereotype to get work. And that is, I think, one of the biggest things that burns me up. And maybe, you know, it bothers me. So it bothers me so much, because I don't want us to have to play into these tropes to get work, because we shouldn't have to. Sometimes it's like you'll see something and it's about such sadness, right? And it's like, where's the hope? Where is the celebration, right? Because as Native people, like, of course, there's a lot of stuff that's devastating in our communities, but we celebrate too, right? And how come we're not allowed to be celebrated? How come we're only allowed to be sad and don't, you know, and you know, how come it's only historicals? How come we can only talk historically about where we are? How come there's nothing about people who are doing stuff now, or a story about, I don't know, somebody who stole money from an Indian center. I'm just making this up, but, you know, stole money from an Indian center, and now everyone's mad at him, and that's what it's about, you know? And he's not a drug. He just needed money to pay his mortgage. Like, there's never these simple stories about real stuff that happens to us. It's always like this crazy, I don't know, it's just sometimes it just becomes too elaborate, or it's too historical. And it's like, you know, we can talk about whatever and that's what I'm saying. I'm not putting anything down. I'm just saying there should be more freedom for us to talk about anything. You know, it feels like non-natives have a hard time hearing from us if we're not educating. And it's not our jobs to educate. It's our jobs to tell our stories when we get on here, not to educate you on Native history. And I feel that the best way for non-natives to understand Native people is by being involved in the arts. You know, historically we see that everywhere, that is the best way for people to start to understand us. It's not everything. I mean, I think you need to do some research and you need to find some things out, but it's a tip, you know what I mean? It's easier to understand. It's coaxed easier when there's an artistic form involved. People can understand it and comprehend easier sometimes.
Yeah, so I heard you talking a lot about, you know, having to play into tropes and stereotypes if you want to get work. So I was wondering, like, how do you feel your Indigenous identity affects your work as an actress and singer?
I think, like, I mean, I feel like it's in a positive. I mean, like, in a very different place than I once was. I'm not like auditioning and like hitting the pavement. Obviously I can't, it's like pandemic, but also like that's not where I'm at right now, like as far as my career is concerned. So, you know, I'm positive about it. Like, I feel like I'm like, oh, like, you know, there's all these beautiful memories I have attached to being a Native person, and beautiful circumstances I feel because of it. You know, even the bad stories, you know, even the ugly ones, even the sad ones. Like, me as an Indigenous person, I feel really blessed in a lot of ways that I am, because I've seen so much in my life. And, you know, not that saying that I've seen like so much bad stuff, but I've seen a lot of beautiful things. I've seen so many different cultures. I've seen so many different dances and songs, and I've been exposed to so much in my life that I'm grateful for it now when it comes to writing, you know, and music especially, because I have all these like references in my head from being around just different art forms that are traditional. And it all depends on the individual and how they feel, you know, because there's a lot of people who don't even say that they're Native, you know, because they don't want, and the thing is I get it, you know, because they don't want that projection on them. And sometimes it's not the first thing that comes out of your mouth, right? And sometimes someone has been told enough in their life that they don't look Native, that's another thing. That's another layer of trauma that they're trying to deal with. So it's like, you know, you're going into this audition with your work ready, and you're trying to get your head ready, and you're warmed up, and you're not, I think as a native person, sometimes you don't expect to be hit with the type of like trauma in the room that you're hit with, right? Like, how come you have short hair? How come you're so light? How come you have curly hair? How come you look like this? Oh, I know. Oh, I met one Indian. Like, there's all, and that's how we are taught to, right? So I think it's basically who you work with and how you make it. I think, but I think for me, right now I'm in a pretty good place with it. I'm grateful for it. I'm happy. I look at it as an advantage, I think.
Yeah, so I wanna keep talking about your career as an actress. So I was wondering, how do you prepare for your roles?
Well, I think one thing that, kind of people, you got to work out. That's one
Mhm.
thing I learned, a hard way. I feel like, there was a couple times I hurt myself over and over again because I just wasn't like adapting my body correctly. So one thing I think is that, as far as preparing for something, like you got to start going to the gym. You got to start like at least, like, I'm no expert, but at least you got to get some cardio. You know what I mean? You want to have your body in good enough shape that it can deal, right? Because I think even if you're doing a straight play, you want to feel good. You want to feel good on stage. You want to look good on stage. And on top of that, you want to be prepared for anything. Because when your adrenaline goes up, if you're doing a scene where you're crying and you're sad and stuff like that, you want to be able to control it. I think that's my, that's kind of my method, is that I want to be in control of of what is going on. I go through the script, I break it down into beats. Um, I try to I try to do a character like analysis of who I am. Another thing, I try to be 30 minutes early. Try to be early so that I don't have to be around anybody. I can just relax and get in my zone. Like, I don't memorize before I do this. And some people get like annoyed with this, but and I guess it is kind of annoying, but the reason I don't like to do that is because I'm a person who my body memorizes, it helps me memorize. So if I don't know, like if I just try to flatly memorize like a binder, I like won't remember it. Like, and I'll go like crazy, like trying to remember it. So like the first rehearsal, like I kind of fumble through. Like I'd rather just have a script in hand or index cards or whatever it is that I need, and go beat by beat about where I'm supposed to go. Like especially if I'm like an understudy for somebody, like I'm replacing somebody, like that's usually how I do it, because for me it helps me to understand why I'm saying the words and where I'm going with them, right? So even if I'm choosing to do stuff a certain way, I kind of like to do it like in the moment with the script to kind of feel it out with whoever I'm doing the scene with, whoever my partner is, so I can know what direction I'm going with it. And then from there, when I take it home after that rehearsal, then I start to look at it and I remember, okay, when you said because you went stage left, when you went over here, this is where you went. And then I know, like, I can kind of walk through my living room what the scene is with the script, right? And I think that's the thing too, homework. Like homework is important. Like homework is the most important thing about anything that you do, is like going home and looking at stuff afterwards. Even if it's not the same day, even if it's before rehearsal for a few hours, like that. I don't know if people sleep on it. I feel like everyone should know that. But like I would say if I was like that, but that's how I pretty much prepare, is like all of that getting ready.
Yeah, so that was really all the questions I had. You answered them all so
Okay.
beautifully, and I'm just so glad that you were able to come in with us
Aw.
today.